Houston, it looks like we avoided a problem with one of these Lamar Jackson duplicate 1-of-1s from 2018 NT. But at the same time, we may have, raised a pretty big one, and it comes to, Ken Goldin and his auction house maybe not doing their due diligence. So just bear with me. I want to give you a few updates with regards to this issue. If you haven't seen my previous videos on this, please check it out. I'm going to give a very quick recap now and then talk through, some of the updates that are on screen right now. So this, obviously, again, relates to these duplicate 1-of-1s from Lamar Jackson. Now, the first video was this one over here, which related to the Shield autos, how 2 essentially popped up when there was only meant to be 1. And one thing that we sort of found out pretty quickly was that given, this one was hit in the break, because we saw that on video within the last 2 weeks, it raised significant questions around the authenticity of this one that was sold by PWCC, graded in a Beckett holder for $35,000 USD. Significant problem for the person who bought that card. And as I mentioned previously, PWCC is looking into it. They're going to get back to me on the matter. What came to light, a few days later was that a second duplicate was found, and again raised a lot of concerns. So once again, being in a BGS holder with a very dodgy looking shield, one being in a PSA slab. Now, what has since come to light in the last few days is that the person who owned the PSA version reached out to me and said, Daniel, I'm a little bit concerned because this is my card. I don't want any, bad juju coming back to me. Essentially, this is not their words. This is just me, verbatim talking. They went through and sent me, all the receipts from when they purchased into the break. They hit the card in. They went and found the footage that the card was hit in. They sent me a bunch of information about how it was also consigned to Goldin, which I'll get to in a minute because that's really poor form from Goldin with, what I'm about to tell you. This is them, showing me the break itself. Unfortunately, it is with platinum card breaks, which is, the world's worst breaker in my opinion. But, that's not really an award many people want to win, but it is what it is. We can see that this card, was hit in a break similar to the one we saw with Pool Bangers the other day. Now, this raises a few questions because it once again brings into question whether or not these ones with the dodgy looking shields were genuine or not, or whether they've been patch swapped. Now, you would have heard me talk about this in recent days that these shields in the BGS holders do not match any other shield for any other player in 2018 NT. They look so fake. Lots of people seem to think they're bought from online and maybe they were patch swapped into these cards. That is still a very, very real possibility. Now, the thing that we raised lots of questions on in the first video was that this card sold for $35,000 USD. That would likely impact on the person being able to sell this card for the same amount of money because now there's 2 of them when there should be 1. But at the same time, this person more than likely deserves a refund because they were buying something thinking it was a 1-of-1 masterpiece, according to PWCC and according to Panini, when in reality, it wasn't. Now, when I say earlier about Goldin potentially doing something very, very wrong here, this card that you're seeing right here sold on Goldin's website for $16,000 USD. Now, the thing I want you to keep front of mind here is the person who had this card graded by PSA also consigned it to Ken Goldin's website. And they told me that they were quite upset because the day, I think it was, or the week that the card arrived at Goldin's to go in for the consignment service, this one was also listed on their platform. So Ken Goldin and his business was well aware that there were duplicate shields for these products for that year when there's only meant to be 1 of them. So they were aware that there was 2 because they consigned both for their services, albeit this one at a later date, and didn't say anything. When you're looking at PWCC's website, we made fun of them in the first video because they, mistakenly assumed it was a 1-of-1 masterpiece as it should have been. They disclosed that in their auction. Ken Goldin didn't, but he knew there was 2. So why did he not ask any questions of Panini back then? And I say Ken Goldin, I'm talking to his business here. Why did his business, not pick this up as part of their process? Why did they not do the due diligence for their customers and protect them as they probably should? And as you'd expect them to as a customer. It is incredibly poor form in my opinion. And what is really unfortunate for this person who hit this card, and we know he hit it in a break and we can see that from a sealed product, the one in the BGS holder sold for $16,000 USD. His one, a week later or a few weeks later, sold for $9,000 USD. Very clearly impacted by the fact that one had already sold. So again, you've got 2 instances now where this Goldin company has sort of let down a consignor by not doing the due diligence, but then at the same time let down the respective customers. It is, really unfortunate and something that we probably have to dig, a little bit deeper on. I've reached out to Ken Goldin and his business, and I've not heard a response on this as to, what they're going to do about this for those respective buyers, but then also the consigners, because they had an opportunity here. They had both cards potentially in hand at the same time and didn't do anything about it. And I say potentially in hand because perhaps this one sold before this one was actually processed. But again, they should have still asked a freaking question. These are not cheap cards, right? $16,000 USD, $9,000 USD. Yes, it's happened during the boom of the hobby when that was maybe chump change compared to what, idiots were out there spending. But you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. This is, completely unacceptable from them as a business, and you'd expect a lot more of them, as customers. Now, I know I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but I think you guys can sort of understand where I'm coming from. That's the sort of stuff that you expect these businesses to get right. That's why you use them as a service. That's why you trust them to consign your cards. And that's also why you trust them when you're buying things. I think they let down sort of everyone in this specific instance, and I really hope they can sort of get back to me and give me some communication and also confirmation on essentially what went down. Now, you could sort of read the thread here for yourself where you can see people's commentary on the patches and the shields themselves. I've also given a few updates because one thing that's sort of come to light as well that I want to clarify that I don't think I've spoken about in another video. I think I mentioned it in my live. If I did already explain it, please forgive me. But when it comes to the rookie material signatures, the laundry tag has already been found, and it actually probably raises more questions than what we started with, to be honest, because if we jump to a community post where I've already talked to this, you can see here that it's on a blue parallel. Now, some of you might say, well, what's the big deal? The thing is with, this specific insert, which is the rookie material signatures insert, is that the laundry tag and the 1/1 shield, they're both 1/1s, are meant to be on a red parallel card. And for this specific insert, the patch is meant to be a team logo. Now, when we look at literally every single other player for this set and for that insert, that holds strong. And not to mention, when we look at every other player for that insert for that set, none of them have a shield that looks like the one we've seen in those BGS holders. So that tells me a few things. Either, we've had Panini come out and accidentally make two versions, and perhaps the one with the, the cheap looking shield was maybe just a test card, and they just mistakenly put it on the red parallel, as you can see down here. Or you could go proper tinfoil hat and say, well, given they've not made this mistake for any other player, given that no other player appears to have a laundry tag on the wrong parallel, did Panini accidentally put the laundry tag on the wrong parallel? And did somebody see that and realize, well, hang on a minute, that laundry tag is meant to be on the red one. Maybe I can patch swap a team logo, because if they've put the, laundry tag in the card that the team logo was meant to go in, I think it's reasonable to assume they're going to put the team logo in the card that the tag was meant to go in, right? So if somebody's noticed that and then patch swapped it to a shield, could they potentially get caught? Do they think that nobody would catch them? Do they think it would go under the radar? And I think that is, pretty likely. Now, we're not going to know for sure until more information comes to light, until we happen to see a team logo get hit. I've watched a lot of 2018 NT and can't seem to find it, but you guys get the gist of where I'm going here. That might explain why we see such a crappy looking patch. That might explain why we can get comfort that somebody's patch swapped this, because the thing that we asked, when this first video dropped was, okay, why would somebody patch swap a tag to a shield? Yes, the shields have more of a premium, but you're only talking about a small amount of money that you're risking to try and make a few extra bucks, right? Like, what's the point of that? You might get caught and then you're gone with like no money altogether. And that's very fair. But the jump from a team logo to a shield is like 4 or 5 times more. So when you're trying to understand why somebody would patch swap, a team logo to a shield, it almost makes sense because the incentive is very much there. Whereas when we were previously talking about the tag to a shield, it almost, it could happen. We've seen it happen in the past, but it doesn't really make sense in this instance. Probably not. So it's just a very interesting one. I'm really keen to get some thoughts from you guys because I don't think we've got a clear answer on what's happening yet. My gut feeling is Panini's made an error, somebody's noticed it and patch swapped it, but that's all just hearsay right now. We can't prove it until we actually see, the second shield get hit in a box break, and then we can put the blame solely on Panini. Like I said in my last few videos, I keep going back and forth on this situation. It's just a really interesting one where we've had businesses across the value chain sort of let people down. Panini have probably made an error, maybe not. A breaker has maybe made an error by, not recording this, which is maybe not really an error, so it's really poor form for me to say. But then Goldin doing what they've done and not disclosing it. Like, that's just very crazy to me. So I'll sort of keep you guys updated as more information does come to light. The one thing I sort of want to do as a bit of a call out is, if you have some time and you actually want to help, maybe go watch some 2018 NFL breaks on YouTube. I watched probably 50 of them and I couldn't find it. And I know it's really hard because you're trying to find a needle in a haystack essentially. But if you want to help and you want to try and get to the bottom of this, that's a really good way for you to try and do that. If in fact these cards were hit in a break, essentially what we're looking for is you're either going to see where this card got hit and where this card at the back got hit. or, you know, where a card that looks like the two of these but has the team logo inside it instead got hit. And that's what we want to try and find, because that's going to clear things up pretty quickly and put blame on either Panini or somebody doing hanky-panky. The one thing I do want to quickly clarify as well, some of you guys might say, well, these two shields here are in a blue foil. What do you meant before about these ones being red? Are you an idiot? No, for this insert, the shield and the tag are in this light blue. The team logo would then be in the red. It sort of alternates between different sets, and again is very consistent for every other player in this set. So that's sort of it for today. It ended up being a bit longer than I wanted to. I feel like I say that every freaking video, guys. Please forgive me, but I just wanted to give you those updates, and really hope we hear back from Goldin, because the fact that they had two cards in hand they knew were meant to be one-of-one masterpieces, and if they didn't know, they should have known, because PWCC knew, and they're their competitor, and they had, you know, the mental capability to know that and put that in the description. So it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.